Hi, it's me again, with a new opening trap video. This one I named the Ultimate Universal Chess Trap. What makes this trap universal is that you actually can start with e4 or d4 and you can still play for the same trap. The only requirement is for your opponent to play Perk defense setup, which is basically d6, g6, bishop to g7 and knight to f6. This is pretty common setup for black, so it's not like super rare to get this trappy position on the board. Usually I start with e4 and this is how it happens. They start with d6 and when they play this move, I know that I'm likely to get into the desired position after playing d4, because here the top played move is knight to f6, so I cover my pawn with knight to c3. The top played move is g6, I develop my bishop to f4, and here they usually play bishop to g7. By the way, the move bishop to f4 is setting our trap, and this is kind of a rare move. Only 2% of players play this move, so I think it has some kind of potential, to throw your opponent's preparation out of the window right away. Anyways, when I play e4 and they start with g6, here it's basically the same thing. By me playing for my setup, the top responses by black pieces are going to be actually the same. So here they usually play bishop to g7, I go knight to c3, they play pawn to d6, I bring my bishop to f4 and they go knight to f6, and we reach the same position. If you are a d4 player and your opponents are going to start with one of these three moves, you are actually also very likely to walk right into the same position. So let's say they start with d6. Basically the rule is to bring your pawns forward first. Here they usually play knight to f6. Then you develop your knight. And last you develop your bishop. So this is once again following the top played responses by black pieces. And the same is with g6 from black's first move. You want to develop your pawns, you want to develop your knight, and last your bishop. And we are here once again. The only exception is if you play d4 and the black starts with knight to f6. This is the only exception where you don't want to bring your pawns forward first, but you want to play bishop to f4 in this position. So we are kind of playing for a London system, it may appear. And the thing is that from this position now on, they are most likely to walk into the universal trap position. So usually they play g6, you can bring your knight here. They play bishop to g7, you go e4, and here they go d6. So once we are in this position, here we are going to continue with pawn to e5. And believe it or not, but after this move, you are likely to checkmate your opponent in the next 5 moves. Because here, 7 out of 10 people, according to Lichess database statistics, are going to capture your pawn, you are going to recapture back, and now the ladies are looking at each other, and 3 out of 4 people are going to grab your queen. Here, I recommend you to, pause for 5 seconds and look confused, like you didn't even consider this happening, and then you are going to recapture with the rook. Trust me, this will help them to blunder on the next move. In this position, black actually has only one move to survive, and the move is knight to h5. Any other move, and they are in a losing position. Feel free to analyze that at home. I'm only going to be showing you this line when they play knight to h5. After knight to h5, you are going to bring your knight to d5, and this comes with the threat of capturing on c7. And lucky for us, there is actually no way for black to hold on to this c7 pawn, and they need to let it go. But, the mindset for your opponents isn't going to be like, oh no, I just need to give up my pawn and I just need to castle and I'll be alright. No, they are going to try everything to save the pawn, and they will not succeed. So in this position particularly, the top played move is also the worst move, which is kind of cool. But here, most of the opponents are going to capture this bishop, hoping that you are going to recapture and leave the c7 pawn alone. But that's not the case. After this, you are going to capture on c7, it is a check, king needs to go to f8, and then rook to d8 is checkmate and bye-bye. Let's go back to the position after we went knight to d5. In my games, people are trying to save the c7 square with their knight and they go knight to a6. But this is not helping them at all, because you can capture this knight with the bishop and they cannot even recapture back, which is what they blunder most of the time, because this is going to lead to the same checkmate. What happens if they try to hold on to c7 square with their king? Well, that is no good for them, because they are actually walking right into the side of our rook, and well, you can hit them with some nasty discovery check. The cool line is if they go king to d7, because here you can play this funny move, pawn to e6 check, so they are going to capture your pawn, and here you are going to give them a check with the bishop, and it's a checkmate in next move. If they move the king out of the way, then bishop takes on c7 is checkmate. And if they block this check, you can go knight to f6 checkmate. A funny checkmate where two of your bishops and your knight is hanging, but the black king is hanging more. So what is actually the correct thing to do for black after you go knight to d5? Well, the correct thing is to castle and simply give up the pawn, but let me explain that it is actually not a very good idea to capture on c7 here. If you do it, then your bishop is going to fall, and after your bishop falls, then they are also, getting some advantage with development and stuff like that. It is actually much better for you to capture the e-pawn, because it is a check, so the king needs to move, and after that you want to bring your bishop all the way back to c1, because from here it will cover the b-pawn, which will later get hit with this dark square bishop. So the line goes bishop takes this pawn, and here you want to capture their bishop, so you win the bishop pair, and in this position the engine gives pretty solid advantage for white. So have fun with this trap, I hope you learned something, take care and bye.